Boom, boom. This is Ken, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. All right, we got a little bit Azur Lane ship review today. So we're going to pick back up where I left off. As you know, I did a bunch of these, but over the past couple of months, it's been really busy with the holidays and whatnot. So there was just too much going on to really start to begin focus back on the ship. So I'm starting to get back onto them as we speak. This will be the first one. Now, as you can see from the screen, it's going to be about Friedrich de Grosse, FDG, as she will be henceforth called through the annals of time. Now, FDG was a World War I battleship, so you need to take that into account when you look at her service career, because this is not World War II, this is World War I. And I think it's going to, as we go over her service history here, you're going to see why she's a priority ship inside of the game, and why she has the moniker of being the most powerful battleship, and she is the most powerful ship in the game, even now that Shinano has been released. FDG still has more power, pound for pound, than any other ship in the game by a lot, by at least 40%. So that's why you understand, but it takes a lot to actually get her. I've got her up. She's almost at 120. I was going to wait to 120, but I've been getting a lot of people. When's FDG? When are you doing an FDG ship review? So I'm going to go ahead and do it today. All right, she's at 119, so she's not quite there yet, but she will be. So you get to see her stats almost maxed out as to what she is. So let's talk a little bit about the start out, okay? So, like I say, she was the second vessel of the Kaiser class of battleships, okay, for the German Navy. Okay, keel was laid on the 26th of January 1910 at the Vulcan Dockyard in Hamburg, Germany, okay? Hull was launched on the 10th of June 1911, and she was finally commissioned on October 15th, 1912, okay? She served in the, as the flagship, of course, until 1917. I mean, there's no, she was designed specifically to be the flagship of the High Seas Fleet. She had 10 12-inch guns in 5 twin turrets. So they were in turrets, so they were able to maneuver and spin. And this is what gives her the capability to be so dangerous at the time, is because of her range of fire were a lot more than most of the ships at the time had. Plus, she had a top speed of 23 knots. Now, remember, this is 1911, and she's still doing 23 knots. That should give you an idea of just how powerful she was in terms of engines. Okay, now, her first actual, she really didn't have a lot of battles until the Battle of Jutland. But before the Battle of Jutland took place, she was a member of the High Seas Fleet. And from about November of 1914 until April 1915, she was basically within the High Seas Fleet. And the High Seas Fleet was trying to, they were raiding coastal towns along England to try to lure out the Grand Fleet and hopefully get them in to where the High Seas Fleet, which is the German fleet, in an advantageous position to engage the Grand Fleet. Unfortunately, they came close to engaging several times, but in pretty much every case, the High Seas Fleet determined that it was not advantageous at that time, so they basically left and avoided the confrontation. So nothing really happened. The first actual, interesting service we get was in the Battle of Jutland, which is, of course, World War I. Now, she participated in the sinking of HMS Nomad, HMS Nestor, and HMS Black Prince, okay? Plus, she went head-to-head with Warspite, okay? It was her and 2 of her sister ships, and they managed to hit Warspite 13 times. Warspite didn't sink, and as you know from Warspite, Warspite is a totally awesome ship. She's extremely powerful, but she got hit 13 times and she didn't sink. But the fact that they were able to deal out that much damage to her, it tells to just how powerful this ship was. Now, inside the Battle of Jutland, she fired 72 rounds from her main battery and 151 rounds from her secondary guns. So as you can see, she could put out pretty good. All right, her next notable service history was in the Operation Albion. This was in September 1917, and basically, Germany took the Russian port of Riga, and they decided that they wanted to go ahead and completely eliminate all Russian naval forces within the area. So they comprised the fleet, which was FDG was the flagship of. And then on October the 12th, they engaged Russian positions in Taga Bay. Basically, her priority inside of that battle was to silence the gun batteries on the Sword Peninsula, which she did quite effectively and extremely fast. And then on the 14th, on the morning of the 14th, just a few days later, they fired on the battery at Zarel for an hour. The bombardment was so intense that the Russian forces fled. So that gives you an idea of how much power she could dish out. That takes it. Okay, so that was her her really last large scale involvement inside of World War One. Now her fate. Basically, the fleet. Okay. Germany capitulated in November of 1918, so most of the high seas fleet was interned at the British naval base in Scapa Flow. Okay, so that's where she was taken after, when Germany said, all right, that's it. They were out, they quit, so they were in Scapa Flow. All right, but the Germans were actually in the position to make sure that nobody actually got the ship. So they actually, had plans from then on to sink the ships. They were going to scuttle the ships whenever they had the chance. Okay, so the fleet remained in captivity during the negotiations, which ultimately produced the Treaty of Versailles. Okay, and von Reuter, who was the German naval head at the time, believed that the Brits were going to seize the ships on the 21st of June, 1919. Okay, and that was because that was when Germany had to sign the Treaty of Versailles. They had to sign it by that time, and so that they were going to seize them. Immediately after they signed the treaty, they were going to seize them. Okay, but they were unaware that the deadline to sign it had been extended to the 23rd of June, but it really didn't matter. Since Reuter thought they were going to actually, attempt to seize them on the 21st of June, he ordered the ships to be sunk. And on the morning of June 21st, as the British fleet left Scapa Flow to conduct training maneuvers, the remaining 20 enlisted men on the FDG scuttled her at 11:20, and she was capsized and sank. Okay, so that was her fate. Just in a note afterwards, she was actually raised in 1936 and broken up for scrap. Okay, so she's not still in there. She had been raised and she's broken down and then sold off for scrap. So that was the final service Christie for her. So this is a service, a World War One service. So naval, battles were not as intense in World War One as they were in World War Two. But as you can see, she was definitely ahead of her time and one of the most powerful ships of the time. So that's why she's got where she's at. Now let's take a look at what she's got in terms of looking at what she's got. So she's a Tier 2 priority ship. Okay. So if you look at what they tried to do with FDG, there's a couple trade-offs that you get with her being such a powerful ship. So if you go ahead and take a look at what her stats, of course, being a priority ship, these are not quite maxed because I don't have the blueprints for her yet. So I'm not going to cover the main stats. Just know that they are the highest whenever she is fully broke. As you can see, I've only got her 16 blueprints. It takes 513 blueprints, special Season 2 priority ship blueprints to actually get her to full. So as you can see, I'm halfway there. I do have her leveled up pretty high. She is at 119 right now, and she will be at 120 shortly. So I've already got her in my fleet, and she does an excellent bit. One of the big problems is, in all this power, getting the most powerful ship in the game, there are trade-offs, and the first one is oil cost. Okay, so she's 19 oil cost just for her. It's a good trade-off when you consider that you're getting a ship that's probably about 50%, can deal out 50% more damage than anything else in the game right now, and you're only looking at about a 15 to 16% rise in oil costs, because most of the other ships are around 16 and 15. So, that's what the trade-off that you have to get from her is dealing with her actual oil cost. Now, the problem is, unfortunately, there isn't any content in the game currently, except for the Abyss, which really requires a ship with this much power. Okay, even the hardest content in chapters, 13, in 14, the boss can be beaten. You don't have to use PR ships to actually, beat the game. She's not needed to do it. Okay, so she's basically, with Operation Siren recently becoming active, now this is where you can, bring in a ship that's this powerful and actually, rain holy hell upon enemies with her. So that's what she's good. But at the time that she came out, there really wasn't there really wasn't much to use her for in the game, because you really did need something that powerful. So she was basically just what a glorious ship that you could get, but definitely something that veteran players have to get up to. Just getting the actual tech points in the Ironblood fleet at the time was difficult, because there weren't enough Ironblood ships to actually get the tech points required to do her, because she has a very high tech point cost. Okay, it took me about 7 to 8 months before I had the tech costs, before I started working on her. But she deals out a ton of damage. So that's what you're going to look. Let's go ahead and take a look at the skill set. Now, Symphony of Destruction. Okay, when this ship takes damage, or when an enemy comes within close range, it fires a level 10 special barrage that ignores the enemy's armor type. Okay, that's one of the keys right there. So it doesn't matter what type of armor. It doesn't matter if it's heavy armor or light armor. It completely ignores that on this barrage, and the damage is based on the skill level. Okay, so it's a massive skill. All right, so then you got the Sonata of Chaos. Now this one here is a little bit weird in terms of the way it works. Okay, so basically, after firing the main gun an odd number of times, so that's on 1, 3, 5, and 7, she gets a reload damage buff. Okay, about 50%. Okay, and damage by 20%. Okay, that occurs until its next salvo. So that occurs until it fires its guns again. Now, when it fires its on an even number, which is 2, 4, 6, and 8, she gets a crit buff, and this increases her crit rate by 20% and her crit damage by 50% until its next reloaded salvo. So basically, you fire the gun one time, you're going to get a 50% damage increase and 20% reload by 50 and damage increase by 20%. And that's going to last until it fires its second salvo. After its second salvo, you're going to get the crit buff, which is 20% of the crit rate and crit damage by 50%. Okay, until its next reload salvo. So as you can see, she's constantly increasing damage. Okay, damaged about 20% and reload. That means she's going to fire much faster to get to that crit buff, which is going to be increases her crit rate and increases her crit damage. Okay, so this is why she's so powerful, and this goes in terms of the fact that she was able to fire very fast, and she was able to do a lot of damage when she did, and this holds to that. Rhapsody of Darkness. This here goes into the fact that through the entire Battle of Jutland, when she took on Warspite and sunk those 3 other ships, she was completely unscathed. Okay, she took no damage from anybody. This right here is the skill that epitomizes that. So it applies a buff to the ship's based on its hit points remaining. So by this time, when it's full. Now when she has full hit points between 70% and 100%, it increases her fire by 20%. Okay, so she's going to be in this range between 70% and 100% most of the time. She is in the backfield, so she's not going to start taking serious damage until the Vanguard is destroyed. So you can pretty much expect that she's going to have a base 20% increase of firepower as long as your Vanguard is up. Okay. Now when she drops down between 30% and 70%, she gets another fire. So this increases the firepower by 10%. So she's going to get another 10%, and it decreases the damage taken by 10%. So as she's getting lower in health, the damage is going to decrease. The damage she takes is going to decrease. So basically, it's going to make her, extending life because of that damage reduction. And then finally, when her health gets less than 30%, the decreased damage is taken by 20%. So as you can see, so when she gets down below 30%, she's automatically going to have a decreased damage buff by 20%. So as you can see, she's extremely powerful, extremely tanky, and this is the skill set is what makes her really the most powerful, ship in the game by far. By at least 40% is what the current damage ratios are dealing out. We'll have to do a direct comparison with Shinano to get, because I doubt very seriously if it's going to be 40% with Shinano. It's probably going to be, when I was looking at it, it was difficult to analyze the damage output ratios because of of what type. But basically, I'm thinking it's about 20%. It's closer. But she's still easily the most powerful ship in the game. And you can do any content with her, any content whatsoever. There's nothing that she can't do once you've got her. But it takes a really long time to build her. 513 blueprints, and those are not blueprints that you get on a normal basis. There's no, whenever you get these blueprints for her inside of the events and stuff, I think they have some of the current event up. It's not the cheap blueprints that you have to use when you're purchasing her. It's the actual expensive ones. So it's these right here. It's not the 500 blueprints. She's in this one, the 1000 blueprint. That's the ones, and you can only get 10 of those, while you can get 30 of the general ones. So as you can see, costs more and you get much less. So there's a trade-off in terms of that. So you can't build her as fast. The only other way to do is to build her within the research lab. Of course, you can look for you just look for the blueprints. Like she's in this one right here. So you can run this one, and you might get her, but then you might get one of the other ships. Okay. Fortunately, I have most of these ships built, Georgia, and Zuma. So I can get, whenever I do this, I usually get lucky with one that I can use 50% of the time. So that makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, that's really the only, but the blueprints are really hard to come by. I try to get them, those are the first blueprints that I purchased inside of the game, just specifically so I know I can get about 10 of them. So that's why I hope I can always get the actual thing that I want from within the event, at least get that 10,000 that I need so that I can purchase the blueprints for her. But yeah, she's just an awesome ship. I'm going to oath her once I get her to 120. And she, if you look at the skins, you'll see that this is the oath skin, what it's going to look like once I've got her oath. And she's got a dark raiment and a nice little komodo if you get her from within there. So yeah, it's almost there. I'm close. It's probably going to be in another 3 or 4 days, maybe 5, because we'll be playing this event pretty heavy. I'll probably end up hitting 120 with her, and she'll be. Then it's just a matter of focusing on the blueprints, because as you increase the blueprints, the stars. That's when you get the stars. Right now she's only at 4, but she will be 6 by the time. So she is your ship equivalent. So if you were looking into that. And she basically, she's an excellent ship. You can use her in PvP. Okay. Sorting her with Nagato and Amagi inside of it just makes a totally awesome backfield. But yeah, she is the best ship in the game. Okay. Her health, she has a massive health pool. As you can see, I'm barely halfway there in terms of, and I'm already at 8,000. So, you can imagine what it's going to be when I get her full up. And look at this buff, as far as I am, and I'm already at, 342 firepower. Yeah, she just deals out ridiculous damage. Yeah, her stats are all above board, top of the line once she's fully completed. And that's what I was waiting to do, but it's going to be a really long time before I get her complete. So I wanted to, since everybody had been wanting to see it, I decided to go ahead and do it out now as the first ship, and let you see why that based on her service history, and how much she did in the Battle of Jutland, and in the Operation Albion, which is against the Russian coastal armament. She just to the point the bombardment was so intense that the Russian soldiers fled. I mean, and they took out the 2 coastal defenses before that in less than an hour. Bombardment of coastal defenses, even by a large number of ships, usually takes, can take, 5 to 6 hours for that to happen. They did it in just a couple, and it was 2 placements, not 1. And then, making the enemy flee. That just tells you how strong she was, and that's the reason. And the fact that she went through the battle completely unscathed against the Grand Fleet. That's why you see her as tough and as powerful as she is with this Rhapsody of Darkness, making her virtually unsinkable. So that's a little bit why you see this awesome, highly overpowered skill set with her. Is because of her service in World War One. She was a ship ahead of her time, and she was that powerful in World War One. So it carried over into the game. As you can see, you see the Azur Lane is really good about keeping the actual theme of the ship into Azur Lane. War Sprite was super tough. That's why she's, and with her retrofit, she's a UR ship. San Diego was the anti-air queen. She shot down so many planes in World War II. And that's why she has the highest anti-air stats in the game. And with the retrofit, if you have any trouble on 12 and 13, you can put Sandy in there and she'll take care of those planes for you. So yeah, so they carry over things pretty good, and that is what has happened with FTG. So that is my rating for FTG. I hope everyone enjoyed it. She is a lot to make, and when you make her, she's a lot to get her fully built. And the 512 blueprints, and not the little 50 blueprints, the big heavy blueprints that cost 100, that are it costs 1,000 in the event shop, and there's only 10 of them, and then through RIP, so it just takes a really long time to build her up. But if you want her, basically choose her as your priority ship, and then just start running your Ironblood fleet. That's the only way to get the points. So if you've got a good Ironblood fleet, the way I did it was basically put her in build, and then I had Bismarck, Tirpitz, Graf Zeppelin in my backfield. Then I run Rune. At the time it was Rune Z23 because and Rune U. And before Rune U it was Prince Eugen. So my original was Z23, Rune, and Prince Eugen. And then I replaced Prince Eugen with our current ship, which is everybody's favorite new ship in the game, Prince Heinrich. Okay, and I replaced the Z23 with Rune U. So that's where we're at currently. All right, so everybody, thanks a lot for watching the video, and remember to subscribe to the channel. Once you've subscribed, you'll see a bell. If you click on the bell, you get notified each time I do drop a video. If you want to support the channel, you can like the video, share the video, or you can take a look at my Patreon page. Descriptions for that will be below. So thanks a lot for watching. This is Kenrick coming at you from the corner, signing out.